This is the second child. No, first, on this child support thing. Then he goes out and makes 2 more. With another woman. In other words, he could end up going in there for the rest of his life, and she won't be able to get him out. He's never going to learn anything that way. But then they say to me,
yeah, but it's natural. You can't help it.
Charlie McCarthy and Edgar Bergen and his I can't remember the name of the one that would say yeah. The little puppet that looks like a farm egg.
But it's natural.
Well, that's like when Jesus said to his disciples, if a man looketh upon a woman, well, let's get something straight before I go on. The gays were already finished anyway. I mean, we don't have to go into that. We already know. I'm going over to the other side and see what's going on. If a man looketh upon a woman and lusteth after her, he has already committed adultery with her in his heart. And one of the disciples said to Jesus, Lord, if that be true, then who can be saved? You're not going to stop men from doing that. Can you just picture all men doing this? And he was right. Who can be saved? But he was telling them, you see, no, it is not natural. It is an abomination to God. It is a sin.
Yeah, but, well, then why did God make us this way?
See, he's like a moron.
Make us this way so that we can't help it.
The only time that they remember God is when they're going to sit in judgment of someone else.
God said that's wrong.
But you don't point out what else God said is wrong.
I'm going to beat you up.
Because they can't handle the truth. And karate's not going to help them fight the truth. It may help them physically defend them, but not the truth. And that's what deserialization deals with. That's why you can't tell the student, you're wrong, you're right, or yes, I understand how you feel, I've been there too. That's why the serialists cannot do this. If it's true that they're not responsible, then you can't deserialize them. That's like trying to etherealize a little caterpillar that's going up the tree trunk. Why are you doing this? The little caterpillar says, I'm sorry, I don't have time to talk about it. Unless you want to crawl up the side of the tree with me until I start spinning that cocoon. I have to keep going. Sure, he's tropistic. He's an insect. That's nature. He has to. There's no other recourse, and the birds don't eat him, so nobody's going to bother him unless they come and spray the tree. He's going to go on, and he's going to look and witness the thousands of monarch butterflies that migrate at times. That's how many of those little caterpillars survive. He has to go up that tree trunk. He has to become a butterfly. But I believe God said to Adam, because thou hast chosen to hearken unto the voice of the woman I gave you. Adam decided to do this. He had a reason for doing it. You can't do anything unless you have a reason first for doing it. And you have to think about it. And so, Adam was responsible for what happened. Both him and Eve were responsible. Regardless, I don't care what peaches or pomegranates they ate. That's irrelevant. But they don't understand the story. They don't get it. Because their conscience would get them, that's why. Why couldn't Adam say no to Eve when she presented him with the fruit? Then he knew what it was. Why couldn't he say no? She told him where she got it. She told him that it was good to eat and everything, and that they wouldn't die. He knew what it was. So why did he listen to her? She couldn't make him do it. He was Adam, big Adam. And what was it? And there's the catch. He preferred to be the effect of her more than when the commandment that God gave him. That's okay if you're willing to be responsible for it. That's what the science teaches. If Adam was to have been etherealized, he would have gone looking for God. He would have said, Lord, I want to talk to you, if I may. I am responsible for what has happened. I brought it upon myself. You gave me the ability to do this, but it doesn't mean that I had to. Knowing the consequences. Well then Adam, my friend's son, on the child support situation, he doesn't have a choice, knowing the consequences. It's interstate. It's even a federal crime. The child support.
Yeah, but God didn't say I had to support him. God didn't say that I couldn't just take off afterwards and ignore the child.
God is going to tell you that after you create a child, co-create, that you're not responsible for that child. God is going to tell you that. You know, the Assyrians, when I first met them, they told me that man was going to sacrifice his children on a slab to the god of sex. That this would become their god. Like they did in the olden days in the fertility rites and what have you, and to the god of Baal and all the sacrificing the babies thrown into the flame. And I couldn't understand a thing they were talking about. That was 1959. How could I understand? They were talking about abortion. What difference does it make if you destroy the fetus for the sake of sex, or throw the child to the flames after it's born? What difference does it make?
Well, I've got to have all the sex I want because it's my body and I can do whatever I want with my body. And if I get pregnant, I can destroy it.
Oh. That's murder. In the eyes of God, that is murder. Because the intent is to destroy a human life. But they think they're going to get away with it. No, they're not. That's the message I bring to them directly from Him. That's why people say, God doesn't talk to you. God talks to you? I'd say, well, you know, I asked Him why He picked me, and He said He had to take what He could get and make the best of it. There wasn't anybody else. Because then they always say, well, why didn't He pick me? It's simple why He didn't pick them. I wasn't picked, Mike, because God made me go through certain things so that I would be eligible to be chosen. It's that God already knew what was going to happen to me, what I was going to go through, and what I would think, and I became His candidate, the apple of His eye. Not because I was any better than anybody else, because I would have been just like them if what happened to me had not happened. Why would I have been any different? I'd have been the same. So I'm not any better because what happened to me caused me not to want to do the same. That doesn't make me any better than them. And that's why He used me. Because I understand what He's talking about. I'm able to explain it to others, having been there. If you want to know about what it's like to be a hooker, you do better to go talk to the hooker on the street corner than your neighbor. Your neighbor doesn't know anything about being a hooker. Go to the hooker. She can tell you what it's like to be a hooker. But I don't want to talk to a hooker. Well, then remain stupid. That's up to you, you know. Gathering knowledge always doesn't come the way we want it. You'll understand the story better, and this is why this is why this thing is so controversial. Mike, when I was a happy child, for 10 years, I was a happy child. I had a normal family environment. No matter about the Great Depression, that does not change. You can still be normal and starve to death. And that's not going to make you abnormal because you starved. But when I saw what happened with my mother, I was only 8 years old. When I accidentally came upon her having sex with this other guy, my father was at work. My father, as far as I was concerned, was a hard-working, loyal, a good man, a good father. He was good to us. He never mistreated us. But boy, I'll tell you, he didn't have to speak twice. And we respected those great big hands that he had. And he was well built because of the work he did all his life. And we knew that hand could really bring it down. Or when he started to take his belt off, we knew he meant business. And so to me, she was being a whore. That was my mother. Maybe some can't understand this, but that's their problem. That was the most disgusting thing. To me, I suddenly hated her. And I regretted that she gave me birth. You'd be surprised at what can happen to you. Something like that. Because as far as you are concerned, before you see that, they loved one another. You had never had any reason to believe otherwise. So naturally you were a happy child. Because you had the love of both of them. She was always there. He was always there. Took good care of you. Did the best he could to support you during the Great Depression. That only emphasized more what he was doing. So I said to myself, I'm not going to grow up to be like these people. I don't want to be like them. All they're interested in is sex. Sex comes before anything. Your children, your marriage. There's no loyalty. There's no being responsible. I said, that's it. I don't want to grow up to be like them. No one told me that I didn't have to. There wasn't anybody there to tell me, Jim, wait a minute. Hold it. You are not tropistic. They're not tropistic, Jim. You don't have to grow up to be like them if you don't want to. You have that freedom. But there wasn't anybody because I didn't tell anybody what happened, what I saw. Because if my father had found out, if then had told him, it got to him, I was afraid of what my father might have done. He could have gone after that other guy. Little itty-bitty community. He wouldn't have had a hard time finding him. And then if he beat the shit out of him, during the Depression and my father went to jail, I don't know if he even had a jail at that time because I don't see how they could support the prisoners. But anyway, then who was going to support us? There was no welfare. There was no food stamps. My mother, 4 children and a newly born in the middle of nowhere, Almadena, which is now part of Orange.